Thank you for joining me today on Ready, Aim, Stamp. Today we are going to make this really fun shaker card using the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set, die cuts, and we are going to also use a couple of sheets of the really gorgeous Butterfly Bijou designer series paper. It is stunning. Okay, so for this card, I call it my see-through or window shaker fun fold card because we have all of our shaker bits. You turn it that way, and then you can open it for your message. I love both sides of this designer series paper, so I couldn't handle the whole idea of not being able to see it. So, plus I like the idea of the little shaker card and all the shakers, which some of mine are stuck, but that's okay. So there is my see-through fun fold shaker card. So the Butterfly Brilliance stamp set, along with the designer series paper, the dies, and some special natural birch color and texture paper are available to customers as a pre-order item for the upcoming annual catalog. These are part of the dies, and here are the rest. So this was one big die, and this is what we're going to be using today, and it just goes over both the designer series paper and the Butterfly Brilliance stamp completely. I'll bring this over here. It just lines up with those perfectly. And yes, this is one giant stamp. It is bigger than the biggest block. And I will show you a trick that we're going to use on that to not use all of the stamp and yet not have to cut it apart or anything. Also, these are these little like fillers out of the holes in the stamp, and I suggest you keep those. I've seen some demonstrators put them on a block and stamp them, and it looks like giraffe spots, or if you did it in black, it could be cow spots. All sorts of little fun uses for those extra bits and pieces. All right. Well, let's get ready, aim, and stamp. Well, we're doing more of the die cutting on this card, but we'll stamp a little. So for this card, we are going to use 12 by 12 cardstock. This piece is a piece of white cardstock that's from Stampin' Up! A really long time ago, so it's just like barely 1/16 of an inch off from being 12 by 12. It has been cut down to 5 1/2 by 12, and then I just folded it to find the halfway mark and then scored it. So it's almost 6 inches, but not quite. I also have 2 pieces of the Butterfly Brilliance designer series paper. This is going to be my front panel. It has been cut down to 5 1/2 by 6. And then this is my inside second fold. It has been scored just about 1/4 of an inch, just a little over. And it has been cut down to about 5 5/8 by, 5 3/4. Then I have a piece of soft saffron for my inside. On the prototype, I used just white, but on this one I wanted to use the soft saffron. And it is cut to 5 1/4 by 5 3/4. And then I have a piece of foam. Looks like I need to glue this part a little bit. And I have just adhered it and sandwiched it between 2 pieces of white because it doesn't stick to the window sheets very well. For For whatever reason, I wasn't getting my glue to dry, but if I have, it'll adhere to the cardstock, and the cardstock will adhere to the window sheets. To adhere this, I used some 3M spray adhesive, took it out to a well-ventilated area, put some cardboard down to protect my deck, and just sprayed it, stuck the cardstock onto the foam, and then sprayed it again and stuck the other side to sandwich that. So then we're also going to need 2 pieces of acetate, whether these are just old overhead transparency sheets, and I have cut them down to 5.5 by 6, both of those. I have some seed beads I got probably from Walmart sometime, and then I have several colors of sequins that I got from our dollar store. And then I'm also going to use my Versamark pad on the inside of the card. Oh, and don't forget my trusty multi-purpose liquid glue. All right, let's get started. Okay, so the first step is gathering all your supplies and getting them cut. And my second step is going to be to figure out where this needs to cut out from the front of my card, because it is going to be that see-through. So there's going to be holes in the front of the card and from my front page. My first card, I did this as the side, but I thought it would look really pretty like this too. So I'm going to do that one on this card. So the first thing I do is I take this inside piece because we want the butterflies to peek through fairly well. And I just kind of line it up where it's going to sit on the inside, trying to be aware of this fold mark and this bottom area. There needs to be at least a little bit of solid space between the fold mark and where this is going to cut for this butterfly and the bottom of the page and where it's going to cut that bottom butterfly. Otherwise, your shaker stuff is going to fall through. So I am just going to lay that down. I'm not using any kind of temporary adhesive right now. I'm just setting it there and not disturbing it. And then I can kind of, I'm going to pull it up on the sheet just a little bit, because that bottom is pretty close. And I've made the mistake of cutting it way too close, and I had just a little tiny sliver, and I knew there was no way that was going to work. All right, and so here there's just a little space here too. Hopefully it'll be enough. I'll look at it again once I get it taped on. So I am going to basically hinge this on using some washi tape, and I'm mainly trying to get it on part of the die. It's too far down on the die, and this top part of my card. I might have still put it too far down. And I am going to do that over here on this side too. Okay. And so then I can flip this open and remove my inside because I don't want to cut it. Place my other cardstock down, and I need to be aware that the bottom part of it needs to come up just a tad because it is a little bit larger than the front face of my card. So there, and then I can just hinge this back over and stick it down onto this, and those two will stay together. And I can see that I have pretty good room between. My cut line is inside the die a little bit, and I'm kind of pushing it here, but I think I'll be okay. So I'm going to go over to my cutting and embossing machine, and I'm going to cut this out, and then I'll be right back. All right, here we are all cut out, and when you cut these out, you get this beautiful butterfly that you can use either side. You could stamp on it or just use it the way it is. And then you have a white piece that you could use the blending brushes on or just stamp and use. So I like to hold on to those pretty little pieces and use them for something extra. All right, so our next step is to get our piece of foam cut. And the way I did this was I laid my piece down and lined up my front piece with my foam board, took my pencil and drew pencil lines around where I'm going to cut that out. In just a minute and I'll show you what that is. All right, so now I have, I just did the top 2 and the bottom 2 butterflies, and that gives me a guide of where to line up my die to cut out through my foam. And the reason I use that foam is because you need that extra little depth for your shakers. You could even do a double layer of foam, or you could do several layers, more layers of the cardstock. So then I'm just going to take some of my washi tape and hold that down in a couple of places. And I'm going to go run that through my die cut machine, and I'll be back. I am going to run it through 3 times because of the thickness. I might be able to get away with 2, but I don't want to chance it. So I'm going to run it through 3 times. Okay, and then you just can punch that out. And show you that side is punched all the way through. The only part that is kind of delicate are the antennas on this, I guess, monarch butterfly. And so you just want to be really gentle when you're kind of easing those out of that tight spot. There we go. And then, like I say, you want to keep these because you might want to pop up one of your butterflies and have it, instead of using glow dots, you would have a solid pop-up of a butterfly, or not glue dots, dimensionals. All right. So I think after this, we have all of our elements cut. I'm going to just pause. You don't need to watch me fight with my tape. All right, so now it is time to assemble our shaker portion. And first I am going to take my bone folder and I'm going to burnish this fold. Try to do this under the camera. And being careful of those little bit skinnier parts up here. Okay, so we have that. And you can see just how close we get to these tops and the bottom edge. So then I'm going to pull it back out this way. And the first part that we're going to glue down is one of the window sheets. So we're just going to take our Tombow glue and we are going to put it pretty much around all these little pieces. And around the border. Oops, don't go on there yet. And try not to get too crazy with the glue beads. You don't want them to be too thick because otherwise they'll squeeze through and make kind of a little bit of a funny cloudy spot on your window sheet. Okay. So then I'm just going to lay that on there. And put a little bit of pressure on it to get it all smushed down and adhered. And next we're going to put glue down again. And this time even more careful and making sure that we go through in between each spot, because this is the part that is going to keep our little seed beads and our sequins in those separate butterfly spots. So we need definite separation of the little container spaces. All right, and now we're just gonna lay this piece down and line up our openings, and everything should line up fairly well because of how we did all of that. And we're gonna again put a little bit of pressure on there. And if you want, you can put this under a book or something heavy, your block case or a heavy block, but I think it should be okay. All right, and you want that glue to kind of dry, otherwise it's going to glue some of your sequins and stuff in place. And you know, you might not mind that. Some of mine I think must have got glued in place because they don't like to come down, but I still think it looks very pretty and it's still a fun shaker card. I'll lift that off of my surface because I think I got some sticky there. So this is the inside of the card. And if you got some glue on your paper, you can use a white eraser and it'll help remove that. Makes it look kind of funny at first, but it'll help remove the sticky, the dried up glue that's still sticky. You're like, yeah, right, it will. Okay. So here's the top again, and these are our little wells. And like I said, you can definitely make them taller. But I felt like I got good enough movement from what I had. So first I'm going to stick my sequins in, and it doesn't take very many of the sequins because they are larger. And I kind of, when I did this, I lined up my inside flap underneath here so that I was more aware of what colors, because I was kind of trying to coordinate my sequins with the butterfly colors. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but so there you go. And I tried to put some different ones, like 2 different tones of yellow and the big old yellow monarch, or I think maybe it's a swallowtail. I'm sorry for you people who know your butterflies. I don't. I just enjoy them and love the fact that spring is almost here, and today was a beautiful, beautiful day where I live. There's all these little bulbs coming up in my yard and, well, in the flower bed, and crocus here and there, and I just love it. I'm ready for spring and kids playing outside and working in the flower beds and sunshine. All right, so those ones I put in my yellow, then my pink. Whoops. And you don't have to use sequins. You can use glitter. You can use anything you want in your shaker card. You can fill it as full as you want. I just want to make sure I have a little bit of room for it to move around, and it'll kind of settle a little bit, but that's okay. And then this is just slightly lighter of kind of that Caribbean or turquoisey blue. So I'm going to use it in this butterfly and not in, I'm not using the darker turquoise in that bottom butterfly. I'm going to use this other blue. Okay, and then I like these little glass seed beads because they add a little more noise and movement. And let's see, I'm not very good at this. I probably should like put them in something else first. My hand there. And then just putting a bunch in my spaces. The nice thing is when these are, when you haven't closed up your shaker card wells to where they can't fall out, you don't have to be super precise when you put that next window sheet on. So it's these are not gonna fall out while you're trying to line things up and get it in there right. Sorry, I'm slow. Okay, 2 more butterflies. Earlier I was on the prototype, I was just pouring from that into the butterflies, and it was like when you get way too much salt or pepper on your food. I had to dig into the different wells of the butterfly shaped wells and move some because it was crazy. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So now we are going to put the glue around again, and we're going to place our next window sheet on. And gotta separate out all these little fun wells and give it a good oops, I think I may get some stuck, but that's okay. You could probably use some different sticker sheets, but I'm not sure if they're big enough, and I didn't have any available today to try them with. And plus, I do like that I have a little bit of that wiggle room with the liquid glue. Gives me kind of feel like I have a safety net. Safety net to catch my butterflies in. All right. And I'm not done with that yet. All right. Push it down. Make sure, whoops, got caught on my sleeve. Make sure that it's pulled down over this little bottom part. Otherwise my little sequins will escape. All right. Must have a sticky on my fingers from my glue. Okay. So then one more time. Like I said, this gluing is the most time consuming. And now this one, we don't need to get as much in between. You just want to make sure that your paper isn't going to be able to pull up, but it doesn't have to separate any of the beads. It just needs to hold itself down and adhere well to the window sheet. And there we go. Oh yeah, I really like this too. It's so hard sometimes to choose which side of the designer series paper I want to use. Oh, my sticky hands making a mess there. So I'll have to try to get that off of there. I probably should have put this a little bit glue right there. I might still be able to do it without making a horrible mess. Come on, glue. There. And that was a little bit bigger of a spot than I wanted to do, but I'll spread some over here with my finger. Okay. Right. So now I'm going to move this out of the way just a little bit, and I am going to burnish the little fold on here. Just folding that score mark over and burnish it. And while I let that other panel and layer dry just a little bit, I'm going to stamp my inside. And I told you I was going to show you a fun trick. So I've got this kind of wonky on my Stamparatus. So I'm just going to lay my paper down where it's going to mostly cover. I just am looking at these 3 bottom butterflies. I think they're the only ones that I'm going to worry about inking up today. And my paper can be wonky in there too. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mask. I hope this is in the camera. I'm going to move this over. This is a cutout from the butterflies, and I'm going to use it as a mask. I just need to find a couple of those butterfly pieces. Probably just this one is the only one I need to use to cover it up right now, since I just want these 3 butterflies. Well, maybe that top one too. There. Now you could cover them with, or stick them on there with low tack tape. I'm not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna lay it on there and then ink up. Maybe I should have, but you know. And ink up my images with my Versamark, because I just want a nice subtle image. And then I'm going to remove the mask, and I'm going to keep that because you never know when I want to use this technique again. And I am going to stamp those butterflies on here. And you can see just a very subtle image of those butterflies from the Versamark. Kind of, it does like a watermark effect. And it's just, I think it's really pretty. And it's going to be nice on the inside. You can accidentally write over it and still be okay. Remember that Versamark is a little bit of a wetter ink, so you want to be careful not to touch it or get anything on it for a little bit. And if you're kind of concerned about it, I recommend go ahead and heat setting that. All right, so I'm going to get some stuff out of the way. All right, so now we are ready to put this piece down, and I am just going to line it up fairly well with these cutouts of the butterflies, to where when I look through it, they're lined up fairly well. I don't think it's going to be a perfect match, but that's all right. And then I'm going to just flip that this way. You could use your washi tape or another low tack tape. I'm not. I'm just going to put a little line of my liquid glue on here. And I'm going to close this up and adhere that down. So here's my shaker. Gonna open it. And then you get that beautiful. All right, my video kind of killed me there at the end. I don't know what happened. So I had adhered this down and then I opened it up and I glued down my inside panel with the butterflies. And then I just wanted to show you again the full effect of the card. Love that. I think it's so pretty. And I love how it lines up with these beautiful butterflies. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this project and that it inspired you to make a fun see-through shaker card. And I will see you next time. Thanks again. Bye.